Hello, YouTube community, and welcome to my very first Bleach chapter review. This is Bleach chapter 565, God Like You, that I'll be doing. So let us get into this now. Wow. I mean, wow, this chapter was incredible. It took a while for the information to completely register with me. This chapter was really good. It raises a couple of questions, but we will get into that in a moment. So anyway, the chapter starts off with this baby. A baby in the void. Artistically drawn very dark, and we'll see how it is when it's animated, but from just an artistic interpretation, this baby is in the void, and we see that as the story progresses. Basically, the baby couldn't feel, couldn't touch, couldn't hear, didn't have any of its senses. So basically, the baby was nothing. But when people would touch this baby, what happened was that people would touch the baby, and part of them would be healed if they had an ear ailment, a leg ailment, a lung disease, anything. They touched the baby and they were healed. And what was happening was that whenever they touched the baby, an essence of the soul would go into the person. And when it went into the person, it would heal them. But that essence of the soul would remain in the person for the rest of their lives. However, those lives were very short. So the essence comes to the person, they live very short lives. Some would last a few days, a few months, a few years. And then what would happen was that over time, when they died, all the powers inherent in that person when they died would be absorbed into the baby. Everything that went out came back in. So the baby absorbed all of these powers and all these abilities, and over time, it absorbed enough to regain consciousness. Now, the funny thing is that people seem to know that those who touch the baby were healed for just a short time, they would not live, but that did not deter others from coming and touching the baby. So over time, that was how he was able to regain some consciousness or gain some consciousness. Now, when he gained consciousness for the first time, he heard around him a name. He said it was like Juha Hey or something like that. And what happened was that it was like a name of a god that they were worshiping or something. So he took the name and called himself Juha. So when we see that panel, that panel later throughout this narrative, we clearly see it is Juha bought as a kid. Then the next panel we see is Juha back at the Ice Palace, and he's sitting on his throne. He's looking out into the Cerite, or the Cerite that has been flipped upside down by the Shadow Wall, and basically he's saying, James, did you die? Well done, come back to me. So at that very moment, he was absorbing James from that battle from before, with from Master Masculine and Renji Abarai, one of my favorite characters. And I'm so glad that he's finally getting his groove back since Soul Society arc. That's me, it's been a long time coming, but anyway, I digress. So after we see this scene, we see the next scene. We have Uryu going to go see Juha, or he's looking for Juha, and he comes across Hashfall. And Hashfall asks him, "No, what's wrong with you? You seem different." He goes, I'm going to go see His Majesty." He's like, "No, you can't see His Majesty." Meanwhile, Uryu had also said that you, Hashfall, also look different. And Hashfall explains that, first of all, His Majesty is sleeping. And during this time when he's sleeping, becomes the father of quincies. And then, to answer Uryu, he says that when Juha is sleeping, I become the mask. I become the mask of the ruler. Now, this is very, very interesting. So he says, okay, Hatchball goes like, okay, well, I can tell you this since you are obviously going to be the successor. And this is the first time we see a very intense glare from Hodgepodge himself. A really intense glare. Something that kind of alludes that he's not so happy about it. Remember the time before when Juha announced we had the quincies that Uyu was the successor, and we had like a bastard be getting all flamed up and pissed off about it, and he's like, no, we don't accept this. We're not gonna have it. Hassel is supposed to be the next successor. Who's this guy? He just got here. Remember we had all that? And Hassel's like, all peaceful and blissful and everything, like, well, if His Majesty said so, then it's according to the will of His Majesty, and, it's fine by me, and he's all nice and cool and everything. But this time, he's like, yeah, I can tell you. Since you are gonna be the successor, and you see Udio give him this glare back like, what's up? They're giving each other this little stare down. So anyway, Hashima goes on to explain the whole process that when Juha was young, he discovered a way how to do this. However, he realized he didn't have to just touch the quincies. If he carved the symbol or an essence of it into their soul, then he could put more than just his power into them. I guess, a deeper volume of soul content, if you like, of himself into the person. So, what does this mean? So that means that all these steering raiders who have received these letters from Juha, well then, they have received extra power from him and abilities. So when he did this, Juha Bach explained Hashwad explained how Juha Bach is the only quincy with the ability to give off Reishi. You see, with all the other quincies, they have the ability to absorb Reishi from their surroundings, but Juha Bach is the only one who can do the opposite. So what happened was that as he's talking, he explained to him that all these people have an essence of him, all the stimulators, including you. And this is when Uryu, freaks out and it's like, me. Well, he didn't say me, but his expression said me. And Housefeld's like, yeah, you. Yeah, I know. You probably joined us because you wanted to avenge your mother, right? Cool, yeah, I got that. But now you're bound. And explain that when Juha Bach had given Uryu the cup of his blood. Now we don't know if this is literally his blood or this is symbolically or whatever, but all we know is that when Uryu completed that ritual by drinking, he had completed the seal of the ritual that was required to inscribe the letter in his soul. So this has already been inscribed in Uryu. So what Hashwell says is that everything in a lot of things in the Serite have received a piece of Juha's soul. Now we know from what he said before that the essence of the soul can only be put in a human being. So it's not an object, it's a human being. Or a living thing. So we know that this is in the quincies. But what I found interesting was that Hashwell said, and all the Shinigami and stern leaders who have been touched by a piece of his soul. So this raises some questions. Does this mean that if you touch a quincy who has a piece of his soul in it, that you get it? I'm not sure, but you can tell me what you think of that thought. I'm not sure what that means, but what I think it means is that those who've been touched by the power of the quincy, or the power of the essence of the soul of Juha Bach, that's where it becomes a problem. Now, so continuing the narrative here. So so Hashful says that Juha Ba basically is connected to all quincies through this way, and that yeah, he gets an idiot join only because when he defends his mom, but he says that all of us, all the quincies, literally live for the pleasure of his majesty because when they die, everything that they were is absorbed, and their essence is absorbed by Juha Ba. And this is where it gets interesting because Hashwell says Juha Ba depends upon this. He must continue to absorb souls, otherwise he will go back to being nothing, to not having a body. So he lives on this. So he lives on the absorption of souls. Juha Ba is like a living Hogyo crew without the voluntarily where Aizen was taking souls and feeding into this thing. Juha Ba is just taking it in. Alright. So then the next panel we see Juha waking up from a slumber and he says, the dawn has come, or something like that. He says, the dawn, thank all the souls who died, because I can still see the world clearly. And that is a chapter. Okay, my thoughts on this chapter. First off, there's been a lot of talk out there from a lot of discussion groups about the Soul King and whether Juha Ba is the final villain or if he's going to measure up to be that villain. After this chapter, I am firmly in the belief that Juha Ba is definitely the final villain. Not only is he the final villain, this guy is getting far more powerful. Basically, what Hachwa was saying was that everybody was dying. Juha Ba is sitting there getting stronger. He's getting stronger. If they wipe out all the quincies, he is getting stronger, personally stronger. This is a problem. This is a huge problem because these quincies came in already pretty powerful. The first attack wave nearly wiped them out. Now, the Shinigamis have responded. They're getting stronger and they're coming back. However, Juha Ba was already strong when he got there. He's getting even stronger. He's getting even stronger. So, how strong is he going to be by the time Ichigo reaches them? And the reason why I brought up the Soul King was that I'm beginning to see some parallels here. Alright? When we saw the Soul King way back, we saw the Soul King when he was waking up. When the Soul King was now coming back from his long slumber. And we see that the Soul King's job is basically to keep the balance between the souls, between the world of Waco, I believe, human world, spirit world, and I believe Waco Mundo. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think basically that is his job. When Juha Ba sleeps, he is absorbing power. He is absorbing power. So there's some parallels between the two. And basically he has to continue absorbing souls to survive. Now, what if Juha Ba's actual aim in all of this is not just to fight to survive? Because basically he says he's going to end the world in 9 days. So what if his entire aim is in fact the Soul King, and maybe it's the Soul King's spirit that he needs to absorb, because there's something probably eternal about the Soul King. Maybe there's something about the Soul King that if he absorbs, he will be able to survive for a long time, maybe permanently. So for all we know, it's the Soul King. So for all we know, the Soul King is the target here. And if that's true, and Kubo, I pray this is true. Because if this is true, we will see the Royal Corkot Squad in action, which is something I really, really, really want to see. But anyway, that's what I took from this chapter. This chapter was really about Juha, really showing us just how powerful and just how really, self-centered thinking this guy is, because literally his dependence is on others. He's literally a gigantic spiritual parasite. And he's not going to stop anytime soon. So this raises a ton of questions about Juha and just how powerful he is and how powerful he's going to be, and if he and the Soul King are going to go at it. Personally, I really would love to see that. I would love to see battles in the Royal Palace. I would absolutely love to see them. So anyway, how do I rate this chapter? I'll be doing a rating system from 1 to 10, or 0 to 10. And me personally, I give this chapter a 9.5. A 9.5 out of 10. I felt it was a great chapter from the information that we got. I thought this was a great chapter. I thought it was really, really good, really informative, and that's why I'm giving 9.5. Clearly, it's not a 10 because it was short. I would have liked it to have been a little bit longer, but you can't get everything. You can't get everything unless some of you are going to march to Kubo's house. But nonetheless, this was a very good chapter. This was a very, very good chapter, and I really enjoyed it. So, if you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, write to me. You can write down here. If you like the video, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And I'll catch you all later. Thank you. This has been the Crossover, signing out.